Guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a movie review. This movie is a horror film from the United States, English language, released in the year 2016, directed by William Brent Bell, and this film is called The Boy. So The Boy is set in England in a very big mansion owned by an elderly couple who have a young son named Brahms. Now they desperately need someone to look after Brahms because they've got to go overseas. So they advertise for a nanny job. Now this nanny job has very good pay, and this is what ultimately entices this young woman from the United States with a very troubled background to come to England in order to interview for the job. So she's interviewed by the elderly couple. She ends up getting the job, and the elderly couple tell her that it's very important that she sticks by the rules because Brahm is very high maintenance and that Brahm has a temper about him and that he can be very aggressive. So she thinks, okay, this is easy enough, and she finally goes to meet the young boy, and it actually turns out that Brahms is in fact a doll. So she believes that the elderly couple has just lost their minds, but she sees, okay, this is good money, so I'm just going to play along with it. So when the elderly couple leave, before stressing once again how important it is to follow these rules, this woman starts to neglect the rules, basically saying that Brahms is nothing but a doll. They won't know any different. When they come back, she's going to tell them that she followed them all. But when strange things start to happen, she starts to suspect that maybe there is more to Brahms than just being a normal doll. But then she also starts to suspect that her past is coming back to haunt her. So as strange occurrences happen, she doesn't know what to think, and this is causing her to lose her mind. So whether or not she can get her mind back and come out of this ordeal and what is actually troubling her is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Boy. This is actually a movie I enjoyed a lot more than I was first anticipating. After seeing the trailer, I thought that this is going to be another film like Child's Play or Annabelle, where it's very obvious it's about a doll who's coming to life, who's causing havoc, who the main character is going to have to try and defeat. And it's going to be a very simplistic sort of approach, but a very arty approach, because when I saw the trailer I thought this does look very atmospheric. But what surprised me the most is that The Boy does create something so much more than just being obvious. I thought the tension to this film was through the roof. I thought that it was done very well because the side stories weren't a distraction to the film. In fact, the side stories really play a strong part to the movie. Is that you've got this great main character of this female who has a very troubled past, and that past starts to come back to her, and you don't know whether or not this past is actually inside the mansion with her. And then on the other hand, you've got this very mysterious doll, and you've got the strange happenings, and you've got the evidence to suggest that maybe this doll is more than just a doll. In fact, it's got an evil presence residing within it. But then because of that aspect of the other story playing a part as well, is that very much an uncertain sort of feeling that you get, is that yes, okay, is she actually being directly threatened by something else, or in fact is it the doll? So it creates something so much more than just an obvious sort of thing that she has to fight against. And so she starts to lose her mind, and you can actually feel the swirling sort of psychological battleground that is within this mansion. So I think William Brent Bell paid a lot of attention to the minor details, and it becomes a very rewarding experience, because this is a movie that had a lot more depth than I first anticipated. So to start off with, the Victorian style of mansion within the mansion that the nanny is actually taking the job in, I thought was very, very isolated. It was very big, and there's all these creaking sounds. But once again, you don't know if it's the doll or if it's something else, and so this whole mansion becomes a character of its own. It's a psychological battleground, and this female is starting to lose her mind, and you don't know if it's paranoia or in fact she's onto something. So I really, really liked that aspect, and I thought the performance from the main character was fantastic. I thought she had a lot of emotion that she played very well off, and it was a character that you could actually relate to and you could actually care for. And as the plot starts to thicken, you sense that she's more and more in danger. I thought the doll looked very, very creepy, and what I loved about it was that the doll doesn't come to life. The doll doesn't it doesn't move around, it doesn't walk, it doesn't move its head like you get a lot of sort of generic films. It's a doll that it does very subtle things that makes it very creepy, but it doesn't give away whether or not this is in fact the doll doing these things or if it's not. So there's all those clues, but it doesn't really spoil itself. It doesn't give you an indication of exactly what's going on. So he's feeding you breadcrumbs, and as you're picking up these breadcrumbs, you start to get more and more into the story, and you're becoming absorbed into it, and you don't notice the fact that it is in fact an hour and 30 minutes that you're actually watching it. So I think the pacing of the film was fantastic. Supporting cast were great. As I said, none of these side plots really get in the way. It just creates a snowball effect up until the very, very good ending. I thought the ending really paid off very well. It was an ending that I wasn't expecting, and I just thought it was icing on the cake. So as far as these types of horror films are concerned, I thought The Boy is definitely worth checking out if you are a fan of Chucky style of films. Unfortunately, what I didn't like about The Boy was the fact that it wasn't really that scary. It was a lot more creepy than it was scary. It had a Guillermo del Toro feel about it, where it's almost like a fantasy-like atmosphere, but the problem with The Boy is that it didn't really have too many scares. So as far as a horror film is concerned, I just didn't think it delivered on a straight-out horror aspect. Although it was very creepy, it was very unnerving, it was very eerie, it just failed to really scare me, and that's something I wanted from the film. In Annabelle, that was very scary to me. Chucky, not so much. That wasn't so much scary, but it was funny. It was much more of a light-hearted film, whereas this movie, it's not a funny film. It does bill itself as a horror movie, but it just doesn't have enough horror aspect to really please a straight-out horror fan. But putting that aside, I will say, as I said, the ending is fantastic. There's a lot of great things about this movie that will make me that makes it worth. Makes it worth recommending, and as a result of that, I came away from The Boy expecting to think this movie was okay, but I actually came away from it actually really, really liking it. So overall for The Boy, going to give it 3.5 stars. Go out there and see it. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies and arts.